I'm Gold Derby editor Daniel Montgomery here with Stranger Things makeup department head Amy Forsythe and co-department head Devin Morales, who are nominated for an Emmy for Best Period and or Character Makeup. Amy, this is your second nomination, but Devin, this is your first. What were your reactions to finding out the news that you were nominated?
I mean, ecstatic, validated, appreciated. Yeah, it's wild.
Now, the specific episode you're both nominated for is Chapter 2, Vecna's Curse. What about that episode stood out to both of you that you're especially proud of for your work on it?
I feel like there's a lot of, different facets of what we do that are in that episode. A lot of our artists were all tethered to that episode. We have, beauty, we've got character, we've got, even though we're not nominated for the prosthetic category, it does showcase the amount of work our team did put into some of the prosthetics that were in the kind of the smaller scale of the show, not the creature team. So yeah, I feel like it's a very well-rounded episode. We see, the officer for the first time turning into Vecna with the teeth and the contacts. The mood starts to change in this episode, and I really like the tone of it.
How about you, Devin?
Yeah, I mean, like she said, there's so many of our team that could be included. So that was really important to us because it is such a huge team effort on our show. So we're excited to all be able to celebrate together. And yeah, that episode really gave you a big taste of the 80s with all the background of the skate rink. And then you've got like the moments in the trailer park. So, it's definitely hard to choose from the scope of the work we did, but we rolled the dice with this one.
And how much are you involved with, the prosthetics teams? Like how closely do you all work together?
So we are the prosthetics team. The prosthetics team that's nominated is creature team. They're doing the specialty character prosthetics like Robert Englund and that kind of stuff. So they're doing like the bigger, prosthetic characters. And our prosthetic work is more shaping the characters that already exist, or, like scars, or, wounds, or, like we did the creatures in the woods, and, just like things that are a little bit more secondary to the story instead of a character in itself. Renner's scar, Chrissy's flashbacks that, Bill Corso and CCE designed, the dad, with his eyes sewn shut and his hands to the chair. So our team is on the ground doing all of that. But it's more accents to the characters that already exist, or, embellishing their character instead of being the character, if that makes any sense. So that's what I love about this show, though, is it's everything beauty or prosthetic or what have you is character development. So period and character makeup non-prosthetic is kind of like where we fit in, even though a little bit of it does spill over.
And you're working on a lot of creating a lot of wounds on characters, especially David Harbour. Poor Hopper is really put through the ringer this season. What are the challenges of creating that kind of makeup?
I mean, wounds are fun, but it's like you said, it's like telling a story, but it's like a lot of it we're setting the aftermath first, because we shoot out of order, and then we have to reverse engineer things with stunts department. So it's a lot of discussing things with them and being like, is this realistic? Is this where we should put it? Does this make sense? Type of thing. And then we set that look. And then when we finally do whatever sequence leads up to it, we have to make sure that we're hitting all of the beats to make sure that it lines up correctly, if that makes any sense. That happens with Jason and Lucas in the attic. That happens with Hopper and Dimitri in the Demogorgon pit. I mean, there isn't a fight sequence this season that we haven't reverse engineered. There's just a moment where, you know, the previs that Sense gives you doesn't quite line up with what you had discussed before, and you have to be like, hey guys, remember this has to come from somewhere. You know, not that the audience is really gonna ever be like, where did that come from? But we just like to hone things in and make it foolproof, because there are fans out there that, you know, fine tooth comb everything and try and find, you know, what was wrong, or, you know, what somebody missed, or how did that happen? What's the story behind that? And so you have to just kind of try and have answers for everything. Our fan base is really clever.
And you know, you've got a lot of just regular 80s style and fashion that goes into the show and get into the characters. What considerations go into that? How deep are you diving into kind of research into that? Yeah, Devin, why don't you take that one?
Oh, I mean, the research is key. And I think a lot of the research that we try to hone in on for our show is definitely like real life research. Like I know we would go on like eBay and try to find old yearbooks from that time. Because, you know, when you Google search, you get a lot of the same images over and over. And a lot of those are more like the costumey trends of the 80s. And we wanted our characters to look real and to be relatable to people that you knew growing up. As that's how I felt when I was on set. I felt like I recognized these people from my childhood. So yeah, a lot of real life research went into all of it.
And you know, the bullies especially, they stand out. You know, when they're tormenting Eleven, especially at the skating rink. What went into developing those characters?
We played with a few different options with some of them, and it all you know, kind of fell into what was the most cohesive with hair, makeup, and costumes, because there was, you know, you're sent the costume fitting, and there's several choices, so it's like her look could drastically change, you know, Angela's in between each outfit. So it's like, okay, let's wait and see where the duffers are leaning towards, you know. And me, in the meantime, Hair's playing with her hair, and then we try a couple of makeup things, and, you know, sometimes everything together is just too much, and so less is more. And we kind of scaled Angela's makeup look back to be a little bit more on the clean, preppy side. And then like her little sidekick reminds me of my next door neighbor when I grew up in the 80s. And she was just like this really cool chick, you know, really connected at school and all that kind of stuff. We didn't go to the same school, but it's just like, I know her, you know, like hair nailed it, costumes nailed it. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's my next door neighbor from elementary school. She was, you know, older than me, but it was just, you just see these people everywhere you go. Like when you go into the skating rink, you just recognize people. Like Devin said, like I know half of the people in here, and even small characters like the DJ and his sidekick, you know, those are all looks that you put a lot of thought into how to shape the world around our main characters.
I imagine there's a lot of collaboration that goes on with the hair and you know, costume departments to make sure everything works together. What is that collaboration like?
It's awesome, right, Devin? I mean, I think we all just like start like a chain of what our ideas are, and sometimes it works when you're doing the test, and sometimes you need to make modifications, and eventually I think we find what we're meant to find.
Yeah, and sometimes you think you know who a character is when you read the script, and then they go to their costume fitting and you see the costume, you go, oh, that's who they are. And so there's all those details help us, you know, finish the details essentially.
Yeah, it's fun.
And you know, you mentioned the you know, Fred has these hallucinations in the episode, sort of the zombies in the woods, the police officer kind of turning into Vecna. You know, what were, you know, what were those processes like, you know, creating those and designing those?
I mean, originally the guys in the woods were supposed to be VFX, and then time and budgetary reasons, they reached out to us to see if we could meet them halfway and do something practical for them to embellish on. And then it became, let's do most of this practical and embellish a little bit with VFX. It was a hectic process because we had to scramble to have autonomous effects. Jason Collins and his team sculpt some generic pieces that could go over many faces. So I think we had 3 versions of sculpts to put on, I think, 10 faces, and we don't have the actors. So we, you know, it's like VFX has to blend edges for us because some of these pieces just don't fit faces. You know what I mean? Everyone's face is shaped so differently, their hairline, the size of, you know what I mean? So I think with what we were given and the budget and the time, I think our team knocked it out of the park. I think everyone looked great. VFX enhanced it so beautifully. That's what I love about our show, though. It's not like, oh no, this is mine. Like, you can't touch it. This is all practical. You know, it's like, I think we all like to have fun with things. And I think the goal is to just have something cool on the screen. So no one's too precious about their department owning something. It's like, oh, okay, let's meet halfway. Or like, oh, now you have to do this because this, you know? So I think that because we've all been, most of us have been on the show since the beginning, we have this shorthand where it's easy to ask people for help from their departments and what we give it, you know, in return when we can. But that's, you know, it trickles down from above, you know, all the way the Duffers run the set and Sean Levy. It's just kind of a very communicative, you know, collaboration.
And what is, both of you, your favorite part of being able to work on the makeup on Stranger Things?
I mean,
Well, what a loaded question.
right? I mean, it really is a loaded question.
Yeah.
I would say, I mean, the sky's the limit with character design. You know what I mean? We have beauty, we've got, you know, prosthetics, we've got big character design, you know, just something as simple. I was talking about this with Devin recently as like the skin texture, you know, like where like different areas have different stories based on their skin texture and how the light is able to bounce off of their skin. You know, when they're in the upside down, they have a sheen to their skin, so you can see all of the flashing lights bouncing from their skin. You kind of feel like you're in trouble with them. Whereas like if you're in like the lab or Penhurst or a gulag, we've taken all of the reflective elements out of their skin, the healthy tones, the sheen. So you just kind of feel like it's an eerie kind of dead inside environment. Whereas you go to like California and it's like everything's fun and cinematic, and anyone from Hawkins that shows up feels like they're in an 80s movie. You know what I mean? So it's just like those tiny details that you can just kind of tell a story with, but no one knows it's there. That's the fun stuff, you know, like tying everything together with these weird little elements that no one understands, but subliminally they can kind of feel it when the acting is there, the lighting is there, the costumes, the hair. It's really fun to see it all come together after it just coming from a paper format. You know what I mean? My knuckles say bookworm, you know? So it's like, it's just a dream to be able to like make things come to life for other people to watch and enjoy. And yeah, I mean, so loaded question, loaded answer. I'm so sorry.
No worries at all. Devin, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of what she said, and our characters, they go on such a journey. And I think that's one of my favorite part is, you know, going on that journey with them essentially. Like Nancy, for instance, you know, we start with her looking clean and like the perfect journalistic student that she is. And then by the end of it, she's got that beauty with her slime and her goo on her as she's journeying through the upside down. So it's really fun to be a part of creating these characters in the beginning and then, you know, navigating where their look is going to go and how that changes and being a part of that collaborative process with all the departments.
And what inspired the two of you to get into the field of makeup in this part of the industry?
Chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, theater school, someone came down from Broadway, showed me how to do beards, mustaches, wig prep. And I was like, this is a job. And they were like, yeah. And I was like, okay, I guess that's what I'm gonna do. So it was just chance. Like I was a dancer background and somebody came down and showed me part of the world that I didn't know existed. It was cool.
Yeah, our story is pretty similar that way. Like I had a theater background, and growing up in a small town in the 80s, I didn't know you could be a makeup artist. And it ended up that I just like kept journeying through life and figured out this is where all the skills that I had been building on fit the best. And yeah, I think coming from a performance background, that's what I like so much about creating characters, is like makeup for me would be boring if I wasn't creating characters. So that part of it is the storytelling of it all, is really what draws me to do makeup for TV and film specifically.
Well, I want to congratulate both of you on your Emmy nomination this year. Wish you best of luck at the Creative Arts Awards as they're coming up. And thank you so much for talking to me today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Daniel.
Thanks.